Happy Monday. Welcome back to Retake the Week. Man, we're doing this live for the first time. We've just done the BTS for members, and I don't know, I think it worked. That's all I can really say. I'm not sure how well it actually comes off. I'm not sure how the quality is. I'm just hoping, seeing as there were no complaints, we're good to go. We're good to roll on this live Retake the Week for the first time. Quack. It was a very PGL focused week, wasn't it? There wasn't much to report. Otherwise, we've got a few other topics in terms of, prospects. We have some Eternal Shuffle, but realistically, not much else going down, is there?
No, that is basically what the week has been about. It's been PGL Cluj-Napoca. It's actually the second time we're doing this live. Yeah, we did the major watch along.
Yeah, but that was on Twitch.
Last year. Yeah. So welcome to YouTube. I hope everything's working. I'm actually gonna post a tweet and say that we're live, but this is gonna be like any other regular episode, just like that.
Yeah, just now with a very distracting chat that I'm going to try and ignore.
I'm gonna try not ignoring it. I'll be the Jamie pull that up guy. And look at the chat.
Oh, why is it? Hang on, I'm trying to look at my control software. This is saying offline. The hell? That's the wrong stream. That's why. There we go. It is online. Thank you.
We're good.
Already got confusing, broken fucking software getting in the way.
Yeah.
You love to see it. You love to see it. But anyway, let's get into this. Before we actually get into it, we always have to do what we do.
Yep.
We need to thank the members who make this show not just possible, but more available. Members get access to this, the right to vote, public opinion, that sort of thing. It's a cool little thing I'm trying to get more and more value from. Not necessarily for me, obviously it's for members themselves. It's just in between doing all the videos and also trying to sort this sort of stuff out, things get delayed. So this month's membership stuff has all been delayed to it's going to be throughout this week, but also the end of next week, which is technically the first week of March, but it's a short month. I just thought it'd be best to make sure it's all done properly. And yeah, Quack, you got anything to promo?
No, I didn't put out anything special. It's been a busy week. And I actually haven't had time to do much CS at all. I've done my work, and that's been basically it. I didn't watch a single second of the playoffs, which is the first time in a while, actually. I haven't been able to catch a single second out of the playoff maps. Normally, I try to get a little bit. But no, nothing. So I think for this, assuming you have watched a little bit more than I have, tell me about PGL Cluj-Napoca.
So yeah, for me it's been a crazy busy week. As we said in the BTS, I had multiple videos on the go, which I'm hoping to release all of them this week. Some of you who actually give a shit about the Power 10 will have noticed there was no Power 10 last week. That is because I was working on other content, and so I miss a good chunk of the quarters. But what I can talk about especially is that grand final. That was the biggest game. That was the one that I think for me, the teams going in had a lot to prove. Because we've been talking all season long, primarily on the Falcons front, about how it hasn't quite looked right. Early on when he's fresh into the team, NiKo looks very weak. We're like, TeSeS is playing well, but NiKo just isn't coming along for the ride, and so they're struggling. There's a lot of question marks surrounding Kixan's calling, his style, Dexter's ability to revive his career, find some form again. And honestly, most of that was answered fairly well. Now, for me, the most impressive one is actually, obviously, NiKo's NiKo. The fact that NiKo's career never seems to leave its peak. It's just how it is now. But a player who, despite an overall pretty mid-looking event, I thought had some nice moments, some nice maps, was Dexter. Now, the grand final wasn't really amongst them. He has a couple nice rounds, but really, overall, doesn't play that well. Hence why they lose. But against Eternal Fire, against FaZe, against teams that I have ranked above them consistently this season, teams that I have chosen as my favorites to go on and win this kind of tournament, they have struggled in those games. And Dexter shows up, frags out, and he's a part of the reason, not exclusive, not by a long shot, but he's a part of the reason why they succeed. So I thought, before I get into more detailed topics, I did want to say that first thing first. Falcons, impressive run, finally looking like a team that should be top 6 sort of in the world at minimum, finally, because that's what we kind of wanted for them. it's NiKo's roster. As much as we might hate, some people individually might hate who the org are, you know, the fact that they are throwing so much money around. I'm still rooting for NiKo to have a real shot at winning big events, at being at the top of the game, because when he plays well, he's about as fun to watch as anyone in the history of the game. Aesthetically, he's still incredibly pleasing, and so I'm very happy Falcons make this sort of run, prove that the roster isn't just a waiting room for bigger stars to come in again. And yeah, Dexter, not a strong final, but great semis and great quarters just to get them there.
I was gonna have this isn't my actual point, but I was gonna have a point about why I thought MOUZ wasn't a particularly exciting winner of this event, and that's because I think, despite everything I think about them, I think Falcons would have been a more interesting winner, because it would have changed so much about how we think about what that project is, how we think about like what NiKo's doing, what Zonic and Magisk are doing, like how and like where each of the players on this team are in their careers. I think that would have been significantly very interesting had they actually won the event. It's still very interesting because making it this deep against a team like FaZe, like it was after the Swiss stage, it was FaZe's event to lose. So beating them is definitely a very strong showing for Falcons. But it's I don't know, I don't really know what to think about it now. And that's interesting. It's a bit of a shame they didn't win. Actually didn't win, because I think that would have been, if not, you know, my favorite outcome, because it's still Falcons winning, and I'm not a huge fan of Falcons. But it would still have been, just interesting in the way it could possibly have shaken things up for how this year is going to look. So that, I mean, that's interesting.
Yeah, look, they're a team with their fair share of detractors, controversial as they are. But I can't personally separate, or can't conflate the two. For me, the player is separate, so I'm always going to be rooting for NiKo in a certain way. As much as I do think, you know, there are some people who are too quick to defend him, too quick to shit on his IGLs. Just as one example, just to touch on that. But let's talk about the match winners, the event winners. Sorry, because there was more than one match, but the big one was that best of 5 final. I think Xerxen deserves a lot of credit. I've been quick to shit on him for the last year or so, as he's disappointed me on big stages, you know, gone missing, played. The problem is, we had this discussion with Yumi, I believe, on an episode of the Double Swing. We're like, it's not just that he plays poorly, like he's whiffing the shots he usually hits. It's more that he's all of a sudden not taking the same fights you want him to. You're not seeing these, you know, pushes, opening attempts taken in the same just confident way, and all of a sudden he's just not playing his style. We saw that here, especially in the grand final. I really liked some of his plays. I mean, overall he does end up with a low WPA. He's taking some eco frags to get his rating up, so probably his rating being the highest isn't that big a deal. But I saw time and time again in gun rounds, he did make those deep pushes. He did take big risks and deliver in a lot of scenarios. Full credit, obviously, to guys like Spinks, who has immediately seemed to have like just found his form, found his place in this roster. They've made some concessions, they've made some adjustments to allow him to be like that, but why not? If he's a star rifler, give him that priority. And Torji, for me, was just consistent, solid, hits all the shots I want him to. I still have critiques for him as well. You know, talking about his T side, talking about his rifling, a lot of things. But I can't deny that on the AWP, he hits the shot he needs to hit. On CT side, he's able to be really dynamic and really fluid. He's just a really strong AWPer when he's playing on the defensive side. So a lot of things worked out. Brolan, good first event IGLing. He looked confident.
Yeah.
More importantly than anything else. I'm not going to pretend he's a tactical mastermind. They did seem to be playing the same sort of CS that MOUZ play. It's just that he played with confidence individually in terms of finding fights, finding spaces, and see, they made a few nice rotations to win some rounds. Some good mid rounding. I'm not sure how much of it comes down to him. I'm sure Cyclone does a lot of credit for keeping everything like moving the way it has been. And yeah, I'm impressed with MOUZ. My primary credit does go to Xerxen. Big stage, you delivered. You played against one of the toughest duos of aggressive riflers that exist in the scene right now, in TeSeS and NiKo, both of whom have been pretty hot. Kudos.
Yeah, and like, for Brolin as well, as the in-game leader, he's been doing a lot of interviews, and he's received a lot of credit in his teammates' interviews, because that's obviously a question which has come up to Sportspinks and Zertian as well. Like, how is Brolin doing? And Brolin has been like more vocal than ever. Like, I saw some people say like, "Wow, I've never heard Brolin talk this much, like ever in my life." Like immediately after he becomes an IGL, he's in all of these HLTV interviews and he's doing all of this. And I think that's kudos because, I mean, it's not often we see an IGL change like this, but a lot of the time it's kind of like hush hush. Like I remember when Boomage and Electronic were on Cloud9, and it was like when they were literally asked who's the IGL, they just said no comment. Like, no, we're not gonna say who the IGL is. So yeah, I think that's good for him, and I think it's good that he's receiving as much. Obviously, you're gonna give a lot of props to the new caller. Like, nobody's gonna go into an HLTV interview and say that Brolin's doing a bad job, but I think they're doing.
Yeah, my new fresh IGL has never done it before. He's shit. He's terrible. He's doing it. Oh, yeah, no, obviously no one's gonna do that, are they?
Yeah, no. But
fine.
they also are kind of emphasizing that like this guy, he's not super tactical. He's more like, he's more directing the team maybe. And I don't know if he's better than Shui at that. I don't know if that's what he's going to be good at long term, but winning the first event is definitely not a bad shot.
Yeah, perfect way to start him. And
yeah,
I did love when I looked at the stats and I saw the ratings. I was like, nothing has changed. Like, the names have shifted around, but if you go from IGL at 0.98 to basically everyone just being between 1.1 and 1.2 in pretty much the same order they always used to be as well. You're like, wow, this really was a simple change. But we talked about this a lot last year. There was a point that the first person who really started, I think, this debate rolling, like, publicly was Maui. I think it was it was either a Snake and Banter or a Hot Take Point Made take about how unimportant the IGL is now with the shorter game. Relatively. Not outright, just they don't matter. But with the ability for coaches to really influence the game, it's more about IGLs. Firstly, from my perspective, like fragging. I don't want a weak point. I can't afford to throw away gun rounds because my IGL whiffed three free shots. I can't have that. But also just being a leader rather than a tactician. And in that aspect, Roland so far, I mean, that was a problem I guess you would have had with him, because if you know Roland from before, he's not overly charismatic leader of men type figure. He's rather meek and mild. He's rather, quiet, conservative, like to himself. The fact that he's come out and seemingly had this, not necessarily a shift in terms of his personality, but his willingness to express himself, I think is key. And yeah, confidence is king when it comes to being a modern IGL. It's all about that leadership, and so far, so good. We don't know at what point the Shuhei kind of imitation runs dry, if that is what's going on. If he is just going, oh, this is how Shuhei would do it, so I'm just going to act like Shuhei. Maybe that'll be a problem eventually, but for now it's a trophy won. And we love it.
We love it.
Well, you don't. You hated it. That was half your point.
Yeah.
There's a few specific notes I do have from the grand final. Firstly, the crowd need to shut the fuck up. They were too loud, cheering it every time a crosshair went on a smoke and someone's behind it. There were a number of moments where players were quite clearly playing off. NiKo especially did a great job of it, to be fair. He's showed some veteran nous in that sense of just like playing off the expectation, using the noise to realize someone's going to be flanking him. He did a lot of little things really well, but there was too much crowd interference. Like, that's just a note I have. We do need to tell the crowds to shut the hell up. But that's just a minor point. The Mirage mid duo, NiKo and TeSeS, filthy. Filthy. Not just, they ran out and they hit their shots. We know they're sharp. We know they're nuts. But if you look at their ability to read what's being done, understand what the other mid player on the T side is going to try and do, and react, respond. They caught Spinks, they caught Zersh with their pants down over and over again. They were just playing really strong heads-up CS and hitting all their shots. So I call it the mid-duo demo. Like, that's one of the things you want to watch, see what they do well, see what it is they're reading and interpreting and understanding, if you are a mid player, because they did a great job of that. But yeah, you have an interesting point. You want to talk about third place deciders.
This is
it's
another
a controversial thing. in my opinion.
This is another format point. I did a format point last week as well, but like I said, I didn't see much, so this is basically what I have to go off of. There was a third place decider at this event, which is something rare in tier 1 events, and PGL have added it to all of their events. Normally, like having a match before the final is not unheard of. It's actually quite common. Normally, it is a show match, and I think it's interesting that in recent history we've seen a lot more like proper show matches, like fun show matches. And they have been like, some people say that this is really fun to watch. You have random stuff where like you have like random power-ups, and you have shit that shouldn't be in the game, just making it fun, like making a fun game. But now PGL have decided to add a third place decider instead, and it's been controversial. Like some people definitely dislike this. Some people definitely thought that like, why are we doing this when we can just have like like we always have, they tie on third, fourth. Like it's just a waste of time. And that would be the case if it wasn't for the fact there was an extra $60,000 attached to winning this third place decider. Yeah. I think this is a cool thing, because I think show matches, as much as some people have been trying to make fun show matches recently, which are legitimately kind of enjoying to watch and legitimately good content, I think it's much more satisfying to have a third place decider, especially for like the game we had, like, because we had FaZe Astralis is the third place decider, and I don't know, but I would imagine Astralis definitely had an advantage there, considering FaZe were probably very disappointed having lost to Falcons. Astralis maybe less so, having lost to MOUZ, considering the recent form. Like they were probably feeling, we've done a decent job. We could have done better, but we would have hoped to have done better. But it's not the end of the world. FaZe probably realized that this was their event, that they should have won this event, and then they go into the third place decider maybe a bit deflated. Also possible they went into the third place decider feeling like let's finish with a medal, like let's finish on the podium. So yeah, but I think that's an interesting dynamic, which is going to happen if we have more of these. And that's sort of what I want. Like I want more games that actually matter. And show matches are just a bit boring. And it's nice to say, it's actually so much nicer just in principle to say that this team finished third instead of this team finished top 4. Because it also adds this extra step. Like sometimes especially in events where like you have the ability to go straight into the semifinal. Like let's say we had third place deciders at last year's IEM Dallas.
Yes.
Last year's IEM Dallas.
In 16 playoffs, I see what you mean.
Yeah, even in the other ones, because like with how quarterfinal matchups can be, especially now that we have less top teams attending some events like this one, 9Z got their way into top 4, which put them on equal level with Spirit in last year's IEM Dallas. So, which is a nice run, but they kind of got it. I wouldn't say for free. They played good teams, but like they got it in a relatively simple manner. If you wanted to legitimize that top 4 placement, having a third place decider there for them to go up against Spirit, that would have been crazy. Because then you could say, yeah, they earned their spot in playoffs, they won a game against Spirit. Or you could delegitimize it and say that Spirit, they were here, but they are the third place finisher, as they should be. And that's like, it's adding more nuances, I think. So, yeah. Right. And also, like, third place decider are kind of standard in a lot of sports. Like, we have these in the World Cup. There's a bronze match. Yeah, in ice hockey.
Only the World Cup. And that's my point that I'm about to... Because I have a couple of things against it. To me, for that third, fourth place game to have significance, I need bronze to mean something more than a 60k difference. Mm-hmm. Let's be real. Like, prize money's great. Prize money's important. But it doesn't just fill the void of prestige, as we are well aware. Throwing more money at something does not actually make it prestigious, and doesn't actually make it matter in your heart. That's something that will never be done. You can't just force that. The other part for me is, as a viewer, as a spectator rather, in the stadium. When I'm at home, whatever. You want me to sit through a BO3 that's supposed to matter, right? Then a BO5 that I'm actually there for. I'm going to be so tired of watching CS. Especially watching it on a massive screen in a stadium where I'm not necessarily got the greatest seat. I might be twisting my... it's just... I'm struggling as a spectator to care for all of that. So that's why show matches for me were always great if you're in the stadium itself, because it's mind-numbing. Like, it's dumb. Like, it's not supposed to be like I'm actively caring about who's winning. It's just, haha, Zeus kill, haha, get me another beer, yeah? Like, it's supposed to be more relaxed, more casual, because you're just supposed to be warming up to the thing that matters. So I think the third place game misses the mark in that sense, where I'm still supposed to care about this, especially if I'm watching a 28-24 Mirage map 1.
Oh, yeah.
Bloody hell, do I not care about watching that much Mirage. 50 rounds of Mirage I've got to sit through before I even get to the grand final. Why are you punishing me like this? I already paid you. Like, I paid you. Stop punishing me. Like, I'd much rather see a one-map show match. Sure, can go into overtime. Sure, can have goofy rules with, like, players floating upside down and being forced to use a scout every 30 seconds. Like, and their gun switches to a deagle. Whoa! Like, you know, I'd rather watch something that's just dumb entertainment then watch a grand final, especially if it's not the World Cup, it's not the major. At the major, yeah, I care that someone finished third over fourth.
Yeah.
At
and I think, like,
PGL Cluj-Napoca, I don't give a fuck. Like, make them answer, like, Romanian trivia in between rounds to earn power-ups, or, like, give them beer. I don't know, do something stupid. Like, I'd much rather see that. And that's the problem I have with it. It's that, as a spectator, it does get a bit exhausting to sit through that much CS that's supposed to matter and I'm supposed to focus on. Like, it's just not it for me.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that. About it mattering, this is not really something. I think the reason why third place deciders matter in other team sports, it's not just the World Cup. I know they have this in ice hockey. I know they have this in a lot of cups.
Yeah, the ice
mostly,
hockey what?
European Championships, World Championships. Basically anywhere where you get a medal.
Yeah, these big, prestigious, important events.
Yeah, it's like, you're actually right. It's mostly You're actually right. It's mostly
when
like
nations'
national
prides are on the line. And
yeah,
I do want to address something that came up in chat, because I didn't think I would be addressing chat, but this is an interesting point. There aren't show matches in other sports. You're right. Honestly, we could just do away with them and just start the final at 3 o'clock and everyone just shows up. But we have this weird, like, min-max the venue time sort of energy in esports, where it's like we have it all day, so we want to use it all day.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from just the nature of streaming. And, you know, because you're streaming constantly. You're not on a TV and a fixed time. You just want to own the day. And that's, I think, another reason why we have show matches and why basically TOs force us to sit through it. But yeah, I guess I would be okay with just not having a show match at all. Just let me show up what time I want. I've actually had lunch somewhere. I've not had to show up just to get my seat, especially when it's not reserved seating. Jesus, that can get really annoying. I think there's a lot of problems with it. Or
we make show matches the norm in other sports, and we can play like that weird, like that super weird indoor football, kind of like football, whatever they call it, like X football or whatever that they play. We can have that in the World Cup, like
X football.
I can't remember. I can't remember if that's the name. Maybe it's some celebrity has made this. It might some celebrity made this. It's like an indoor football thing, and they have like they have power ups and they have like power cards, and it's like you do this, you do this random thing, and the other team gets a penalty against you, and like all of the penalties are hockey penalties. Like you take them from the center line, and like you dribble it around a bit before you take it. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway. No, okay. So the reason why I see what you mean, like that about like maybe we shouldn't have them at PGL Cluj-Napoca. I think PGL Cluj-Napoca was supposed to be a bigger event than it was. Considering the $1.25 million prize pool, I think they were assuming all of the top teams would show up, and this would be.
They did what we said they would do when we went into this, and it's like TOs want to use the VRS allure to drag in the big teams. They're gonna throw big money at it because, come on, PGL. We know there was a DreamHack major in Cluj-Napoca. Or was it? No, it wasn't a DreamHack major. It was a PGL major in Cluj-Napoca.
No, it was a DreamHack major.
Was it DreamHack? Yeah, it was DreamHack, of course. I know we had Cluj-Napoca in the past. Just because it happened once as a major doesn't mean it's now a prestige event. Like, I know that's kind of how it feels with the Cologne-Katowice logic, but that's not actually how it works. You need to run this for a few years. And maybe that's their intention, is they're going to run Cluj-Napoca every year, and they want it to eventually feel like Katowice, like Cologne. But for now, it really doesn't feel like it, and it does not feel worthy. I mean, Cologne and Katowice shouldn't have a third-place playoff, in my opinion. So your event really shouldn't. It's not the same thing.
I think Cologne and Katowice should have it. I think maybe Majors and Cologne and Katowice should have it because, like, it also, if it's more normal, it also would matter more. Like in this case, it's the first third place decider we've had in years, so obviously it doesn't really matter. If we had them, let's fast forward 3 years and say we have them at all the prestige events, we would actually care because it's like, oh, you came third in Cologne. So,
okay,
yeah,
that's fair. That's actually fair.
Yeah, like that. It's because it would literally just replace the term. The term top 4 would just be replaced by
they finished
podium. Podium, yeah, or something like that. Like, could be
Right.
like it's kind of a norm thing. I think it would be cool. I think we should have it. You could do away with them entirely and just have top 4, no show match, nothing.
Yeah, but then how would you lock us into the arena and force us to eat hot dogs and drink their mediocre lager all day?
Yeah.
Remove.
Could watch a movie. Yeah. Put a movie on.
Right.
Like
Before ideas get any more terrible, let's talk about one more.
Like a children's classroom. Like
Jesus
a children's classroom.
Christ.
Oh, today we're watching a film, and you only get to see the first half of it because the class is only 1 hour.
Yeah, we're not going to watch half of Cars 2, no matter how much you protest and how much you like.
I hate Cars 2. I hate it.
Sorry, wrong Cars movie. My bad. I forgot who we're dealing with. Right. Let's talk about. Speaking of third place, Astralis. I think this is essentially their peak. Like, this is what we can expect in an event where basically the top 4 teams in the world really aren't playing. They could probably finish top 3. Like, they might be like 7th, 8th best in the world on their day. The destruction of Mongols, well, destruction. It wasn't really much of a landslide, but it was. They beat them 2-0, which was a shock for a lot of people. Essentially, was the peak of what you can expect from Astralis. Like Stown and Yabi taking in turns to be very impactful. Obviously, borderline dominant on the rifles between Mirage and Inferno, and then Device just shows up, gives you that output, that consistent output across both maps. Yeah. Doesn't matter that Cadian is 10 and 20 in the series. Or, sorry, that's just on Inferno. But 21 and 34 for the series. Complete bot. Doesn't matter so much when they do have all those pieces firing. And Stare just casually does. Holy crap, I didn't realize Stare put up such a good performance in terms of the raw numbers. This is the peak for Astralis. You know, those 2 individual riflers really popping off, creating all that play. As we say, they're a duo who don't actually play off each other. They're just a duo who both exist on the same team. But they present a lot of threats in terms of how they both can lurk, they both can trade, they both do a lot of little things that can really impact the game. And yeah, that's spiritual peak. I mean, sure, we can call it a Mongols collapse. I know a lot of people had them on Fraud Watch. I think it was I think Thorin even said, like, they haven't actually beat anyone on stage. Why do we consider them so elite or borderline elites given the current space? And it is pretty much almost de facto. Like, they were de facto like number 5 or number 6 in the world. Despite not having all those LAN wins, the big stage moments, they just had small LAN successes. And Astralis came out and battered them. Lose to MOUZ, but beat FaZe in the very important third place game. I think for them, this is a very positive sign that finally they have at least a proof of concept, because they really haven't, beyond group stages very early on last year, shown us this level out of both the riflers. The riflers, you know, they literally ripped Heroic apart for. They hadn't been able to get this from them. And here they did in a series on a stage that kind of mattered. You know, that mattered, beating Mongols. They are a top team. Yeah. So this is what I'm just going to call it. This is like Astralis' ceiling. I don't think they end up pushing on and becoming a number 1 contender. Even if, in theory, if you told me a while ago a team had Stown, Yabi, and Device, I'd have thought they should have been. The preponderance of evidence suggests they aren't really capable of reaching that height, but this is something to aspire for. Probably this sort of level of play gets them top 8 at a lot of much bigger events. This is their ceiling, and it's fairly strong.
Yep. Let's not forget they kind of struggled in the Swiss. They didn't really play. I mean, they played Falcons, who I suppose in hindsight are a top 2 side decent in this event. But at the time, this was, you know, they were too hot. It was a fairly close game. They also lost to Pain. They kind of struggled against MIBR. They did close it out, but they had that crazy overtime on Mirage and overtime on Inferno. Like, it's very much that Mongols game felt very jarring. It felt like a very much a random overperformance. And I don't think there's too much to build off of. Like, if they can replicate that, perfect. They're a solid top 10 side. but I don't think they can replicate it because this is the first time they've done it in however many attempts. So
it's
and
been a
it's
long,
also
frustrating watch of Stown and Yabi doing sweet nothing through all the drama and bullshit they caused just to make this move happen.
yeah,
And even now,
Stown didn't do much. It was just Yabi. Like Yabi had a great event. Stown really didn't do too hot.
Overall,
Overall, no. In that game either, he wasn't too big on the numbers.
no, he had a strong Inferno. If you, it's been an iconic map of his, honestly, for a long time. But he did have in theory, iconic. He's had too many down months with Astralis to really give him that sort of credit. But if you expect Stown to be strong, Inferno is usually a decent bet for him to have his pop off.
Yeah, but on said Inferno, in the next game against MOUZ, he dropped a 0.75, 13 in 20, in overtime. So it's not a huge. I mean, look, it's mostly Yabi. Stair did a lot of lifting. Even Device wasn't really all there. So it's kind of hard for me to see if there's something here for.
Well, I'm telling you, it's their ceiling. I didn't say it's the new normal.
Yeah,
right? This isn't the new normal.
No, I'm agreeing with you. It's like it's going to be difficult for them to reach that ceiling and maintain a level at that ceiling. So I'm not too hot on them going into the next event. And honestly, like I think they might end up crashing quite hard because I think they might end up. I think EPL is the next event. I think now they're going to go in with quite big expectations. They think we finally found it, and it might be a letdown for them. But we'll see what happens. MongolZ as well. Like I don't know. Are MongolZ attending? They must be in ESL Pro League, right? Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Actually, they're straight into the main Swiss. Everything is Swiss these days. Yeah. Astralis aren't though. Astralis are skipping that event. Okay. Yeah. So I think MongolZ have this might be the perfect event for MongolZ to rebound because it's a relatively easy event to win, or to do very well at. So if they were going from this kind of tough loss straight into something like the Austin Major, that's gonna be rough. But yeah, I'm not too down on MongolZ yet. I think they still put up a solid enough event where they obviously maybe their standing goes down a little bit, but it's not the end of the world for them. But we'll see. I didn't watch them play. I didn't see if they were good or bad outside of the Swiss stage, and so we'll see.
Yeah, not a great event for them. Another team who blundered, essentially, just fell flat. Eternal Fire. Look, I've said it before. They do have two sides to them. There is that ceiling when they're all popping off. So many individuals who are just outstanding. I said it when they lost to MongolZ. If you are able to come out, match their initial opening explosion, and they're forced to adjust the game plan or win through mid rounds and late rounds, they're going to struggle. Well, guess who had? I mean, on train, Dexter was there with him, but that nuke performance to close out the series from NiKo, actually insane. And Zentares, I watched it, just nothing worked. Every time he tried something, most of the time NiKo just killed him. Watching the rest of Eternal Fire try to find a way through that Falcons roster, they just didn't have mentally anything to offer. They looked defeated. They seemed out of ideas. And that's the problem they have, and that's why a lot of people are not going to be afraid of them long term. Once the other rosters who made their changes, who were kind of unstable, kind of smooth out. Major's not that great a caller. There isn't a clear second voice that we think can really contribute a lot of ideas. They're going to fall flat like this. As much as they are going to be dangerous to face, and if they're peaking properly and hitting all their shots, you're going to get run over. I mean, look, they added Jota on top of everything else. They're crazy stacked. But this was this was the other side of the coin from Eternal Fire, and yeah, NiKo just daddied them.
Yeah, I think somebody said was it you or was it somebody else who said that the Blast Bounty thing would be the best thing Eternal Fire do all year?
Probably not me.
Because right now that's holding true. Because they're
always... Oh, that's the problem. I can't ever say that. Because look, the odds that they go and finish runner-ups at a Pro League, again, isn't that insane. Like, it's not that unrealistic. The idea that they go to like a Dallas-level event and again finish second, or... That's not crazy. The fact that a Blast Bounty, they finish second, that's probably not going to be the only time they do it this year.
No.
Given
it's holding true so far, considering Katowice quarters and this event.
Yeah, they finished in quarterfinals of 2 other big events.
Yeah, but they played they lost to VP. They played 3D Max. Like it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was illegitimate because they're fairly evenly matched with a bunch of teams they played. FaZe was the qualification game, but it's not. I didn't think it was all that good.
They just beat Falcons and FaZe, 2 teams that we expect to be better than them in theory, and that's still it stays with what we're saying here though. Their peak is to beat all these teams. That's who they can be when they are hitting their shots. They're getting the early momentum and they're getting rolling.
Yeah.
The point is, once they're challenged, once they're forced to adjust, they struggle. And to say they could never finish second again at an event is ridiculous, quite frankly, because we are still talking about Xantares, Woxic, Wucadia, Jota, just lethal players. And Major is, despite some people's protestations, a stronger fragging IGL than most top teams can even dream to brag about. Major frags quite hard, and so they have too many options, too many weapons to be discounted in that way, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, all right. That's a fair point.
All right, that pretty much wraps up Cluj-Napoca. I mean, quarterfinals, MOUZ beating Pain, I don't really have much to say about it, because everything I've said about MOUZ applies in that game. It's close. Big Uzira deserves a lot of credit, as he always does, for making it close. But it's what was supposed to happen. Just like Saw getting crushed by FaZe. Nice that Elige gets a good nuke off, but aside from that, nothing really to report. And that grand final.
Yeah, same old.
We broke it down nicely. Let's get on to the small site retakes. I think we're just about done with that side of things. You've got to give me PC tips. What is this?
I built a new PC this week, and I'm very excited about it. I wouldn't say it's very good. It's something to work off of. I've upgraded basically everything except the GPU. But I need some tips. What do you think I should do with a new PC? Optimization tips. Everything you can give me. This is a call for action. Put this in the comments, because I'm not going to say I need it, but I want it, because I want to squeeze every bit of performance out of this. So put it in the comments on the VOD. Actually, are there even comments on a stream VOD? I did just realize. There's got to be, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Put it down there. I need all of the tips I can get. I would like about how to make this thing an absolute beast machine. People are gonna ask. I got a Ryzen 7 9700X, and everybody told me, why didn't you get the X3D? And I was like, that's 250 euros more expensive, and I tried to keep the cost down. I kept my GPU. It's a 2060. I got 32 gigs of RAM, and the rest that's mostly what you care about. So, that's just it. I built a new PC and I want tips on how to optimize it. That's my point. It's nothing Counter-Strike related. Although, actually, no. Okay, it is Counter-Strike related. I would like Counter-Strike optimization, because that's what I play mainly. So yeah, give me tips.
Don't you play My Little Pony Island Adventure? Like, isn't that your game? No, yeah. I mean, I've got one.
How do you know the name of that game?
Fucking South Park, dude. South Park, of course.
All right.
Do you not know the reference? Make Love, Not Warcraft? Come on. One
I
of the
do not know the
episodes of South Park where they play World of Warcraft.
You
should watch it. It's. I remember how I watched that episode. A friend of mine, like my best friend when I was like a kid, like when we were like 7 to like 12, he had that episode on his iPod, like classic, the big chunky one. and we watched it at the dinner table, like in a restaurant, I think, with like our families were like having dinner. We just sat there watching South Park
Oh
on
my god.
his iPod. Yeah,
Yep.
brilliant episode. Yeah, those
All
who
right.
know will know. Actually, I want to look up when that came out. Make Love, Not Warcraft. Season 10. 2006. Yeah, okay, I was 9 when it came out. But no, banger.
Yeah.
Right. PC tips, yeah. Give Quack all your advice. Like,
Yeah, give me all of
I
it.
don't actually know. I don't know what to tell you. From my side of things, on the small site, we're going back to PGL, but this is completely unrelated to the game. It's actually just about the production and the format. Because we said this last time. It's awesome they showed you can do a BO3 Swiss. We need to be doing BO3 Swiss. Can't be having best of ones in top level CS. It's a waste. It's just a waste. And then they showed off you could also do an 8-team playoff. So we don't have to do this whack fucking 6-team, someone skips to semis nonsense that they've been doing at ESL events. Like, I've never been a fan of it. Much prefer to see this. 2 days with 2 BO3s for the quarters. Now, it is a little harder for me to keep track of. It's 2 extra games for me to watch. You know, they start earlier in the week. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. We need that sort of thing. We need a properly rigorous playoff system and group stage as well. But I actually want a proper playoff, and that's what we got. And it worked out very well. I mean, as far as I'm aware, minimal tech delays. Sound issues, I didn't hear any. Not in the games I was watching. I didn't watch every game with sound. I'm just going to throw that out there. Some of the quarterfinals, I was busy. So I did have them on without sound. As far as I can tell, Grand Final, no sound issues, no PGL sound guy moments. Just a great, well-run event with all the depth and detail you want in terms of the maximum number of games. We had the crowd noise perfectly piped in. Everything was how it should be. So I love what I saw from PGL. Give me more. When's the next PGL event? Because I'm gonna be watching. This is the new
Bucharest.
standard.
Yeah,
It is Bucharest
is the next one. And
that
is
home soil,
soon.
so maybe for them it's more that they can't do anything abroad. Just good on home soil.
They do a lot of their production.
Yeah,
it's in about a month. They do a lot of their production in Romania, I think. For the major, they did a lot of the production from Romania rather than from China.
Oh yeah, it's perfect. Well, most of the stuff on site.
But they had like a lot of the broadcast production for the English broadcast. Like I think a lot of the commentators and analysts were just in Romania, and I think they ran like the English broadcast that you were watching. Yeah, sure, they filmed everything on site, obviously, but it's like a lot of that was just shipped straight to them, and they worked with it from there. So I wonder if maybe that's I would imagine maybe that's something they do for a lot of their abroad events, and that becomes a problem. I don't know, but yeah, Bucharest is gonna be cool, and we have some qualifiers for this. Just as a side note, why this event is gonna be quite cool. Big ass close qualifier with 32 teams in 4 groups are gonna decide who gets the 1 spot.
Yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it? Just for that 1 spot.
That's just the European, and the South African one as well has 32 teams, and it's the same thing, 1 spot, and I'm assuming North America is the same. Yeah. Oh hey, Fisher College are here. Cool. Shout out Tony. He's not there anymore, but that's our guy. They're in the close qualifier. Anyway,
shout out Tony. Would have been you had you still been there.
Yeah, would have been you had you not graduated.
Idiot.
Shout out Alex, who is still there actually.
It's pretty cool to see the college team doing bits.
Yeah, best college team I think at the moment. I don't know anything about them, but it's the only one I've heard of. So I'm assuming it is.
I mean, I don't see any other college playing real events. Let's put it that way.
No, exactly. No, yeah, it's gotta be. They have to be the best. Yeah.
And if they're not, they're the best in our hearts.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry. This is big side note. Did you see they signed the Israeli player Thor, or signed, but he's going over there to study. Thor. Yeah, he's one of the old Dusty workhorses for the Dusty team. Like the one guy who's always looked good for years playing for Dusty. Just as a big side note.
Look this guy up. Oh, the Icelandic guy, Thor.
Yeah, Icelandic, like Dusty, the only Icelandic team in
Either I
existence.
heard or you said Israeli, and I was very confused.
I might have said that. I'm sorry in that case. There's a big difference.
Yeah. Oh my god, he has the most Icelandic name.
Yeah.
Holy
It starts
crap.
with a th. That's a th.
Yeah.
th.
Starts with a th. I know.
Th.
Just in
And
chat
also
for
has a-
reference. Holy crap.
Þorsteinn Friðfinnsson.
Jesus.
Welcome to America. That guy's gonna live in the US. I go, hey, what's your name? Þorsteinn Friðfinnsson.
Bro's just gonna call himself Thor.
I'm just call. He just shows up to the fucking college like, just call me Thor.
In your head, you think, Thor, long flowing blonde hair, big beard, jacked, big hammer. Instead, this guy shows up with his mouse and keyboard.
Yeah. I brought my own gear. Sorry, that's what people think. People outside of Scandinavia think Scandinavians speak like that, and that's because I don't know how to do an Icelandic accent.
A lot of them who do sound like that. To be sure, a lot of them were like northern Swedes or like just Swedes or Scandies who didn't speak that great English. Their accents, when they're that thick, do sometimes come across like that. Like,
yeah.
But that's an appropriate accent, I think, to try and do.
All right. Yep.
He's gone off to. You said he's off at Fisher College.
Fisher College, yeah. I think he's starting. He hasn't started yet, but he's going to.
Oh,
I know.
Whose spot he's going to take?
I don't know.
If
Tony was coaching.
He might not be good enough.
Yeah. Fall semester. Yeah. That's cool. It's Fisher are the only people I see like publicly doing the big.
No, yeah, Davenport was pointed out in chat. You remember now? They are a unit.
Davenport, yeah. Davenport did, but I think they quit.
Yeah, they haven't played a game since 2023 March.
Yeah, and they were good.
They were. They played. They won at Philadelphia, didn't they? Or they finished.
Oh, they actually. Yeah, I think so. They actually had Korn, who's on Fisher. So I guess he transferred to a different college. Oh.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. Oh no, Fraggle 17 they went out in groups to EG Black. So maybe it's a different frag. They've attended multiple.
I think they won advanced. And they finished 4th at Denver. Denver frag.
They never won one. I was just imagining things.
They never won anything.
Just appeared.
Yes!
That's it. That's it. They're trash. They're trash. Yeah, Fisher College, clearly better. Never won anything either, but our GOAT. Our GOAT attempt.
Hell yeah.
Plus they import Europeans, which makes them better.
Yeah.
Alright, up next. Let's do the Eternal Truffle. I'll be grading these. I want to grade all of these.
Alright, yep. MIBR, drop. Brenzen is coming back, and they've also cut their coach, Bit.
Yeah, so this is a weird spot. This feels like, I know it isn't a cut the 5th change, but it really has the same energy as it, despite it being the IGL. Because we're really going back to Breno. We know it didn't work. Like, is it Exit going back to calling as well? I know he was at some point. I don't like this. Like, I'm not a fan at all of this specific move. I get the urge to want to drop, and bring in a new IGL to try and make this work.
It's Exit confirmed.
It is Exit back to calling, yeah.
Yeah.
I was also going on to Liquipedia. So I just, this feels like it's Breno as well. He struggled to make good decisions, very inconsistent. As much as he has, great peaks and hits hard shots, he's just not a smart enough player, I think, to be on this team. So I'm going to give them like a D until they make more changes to address this. Like, maybe they do get some influx of cash and manage to spend all 30 million it's going to cost to get Big Uzera out of pain or whatever it is. Until they do something like that, I can't really rate this move any higher than a D, because there is no rhyme or reason, no sense to it. They've just gone back to being a full-on pug mix. It's not great.
Yeah, I'm going to say this really seems like an interim move. Like they're waiting for, I don't know who's calling for like Legacy, and I think it's Vinny calling for Imperial, but I think maybe they're waiting
still.
for somebody like that, or to either become available or just be good enough where it's worth buying them. Or Big Uzera, like whenever Payne maybe fall off, then Big Uzera coming in is kind of a no-brainer move if you can afford him. It feels like they're very much, I don't know. I mean, stuff always looks different on the inside compared to the outside, but it definitely feels like this is not a team which have any hope of being where MIBR want to be in this season, maybe even next season if they stick with it. I feel like they lowered their ceiling with this, and they cut their coach. They haven't announced an addition. Bit was only there for a few months in the first place, and that was the second tenure at MIBR. What the fuck? Yeah. Oh, they might just be bringing back Knack, because he was the coach, and then he went to assistant coach, and he's still there. So they might just be bringing him
They
back.
would have announced that surely by now. It's not that not much to shake
Yeah.
out, is there? Like,
yeah, no, but maybe. I don't know. Right. Saw have added a Zulu and Sejot in place of Roman, and it was SHR, I think. So they've gone international.
yeah, so this is weird because I was down for cutting Roman and Sure, because I do think Roman is very whatever as a player, and Sure didn't impress me. You know, I didn't have much exposure to him, but in the sort of 3 months he's been on Saw, nothing electric. To be fair, Agil, nothing special either so far. But I guess, yeah, if you had to cut one of them, that's the one that makes sense, I guess, for the players you're bringing in.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of Azuwu. I had him on Prospects Multi a while ago, just as he got signed to Endpoint, like just before, which led to a few like side eyes from the Endpoint guys on Twitter.
Yeah.
That was amusing. But I don't know. It's a risky move considering how Endpoint have played. But in the past, we've been excited about Sejot. We've been excited about Azuwu. Slightly different reasoning. Azuwu for me was a very clean, mechanical player with some potential. Sejot was more like, bro, he's 17 and he's making this good a decision. Like, that's impressive. There's something to his mental. Like, he understands what he's doing at a higher level than he should. So there is, I think this can only be an improvement on what Saw have been. They haven't been great, despite, you know, a bit of a fluky run in my eyes at Cluj-Napoca. Like, there's no world where I expected them to even beat FlyQuest. I mean, complexity maybe, but 3D Max 2-0 win. What on earth was that? You couldn't have convinced me that was going to happen. So I don't know. I'm going to give them a B pending. It's a B pending. Like, there's a chance this becomes like an A+, and I guess that's just me hedging my bets. So I'm just going to give them a B outright and not give myself any way out. Because you could ruin chemistry. It could be more difficult for Mutrus to call, because I do think Mutrus has called a strong game for a while. It's just a question of having the players around him. And I hope these guys are the players I think they should be. And this works out.
Right, GGO have cut Issa and they're adding Boros.
All right. This is an A+ until the team explodes. Because Boros is outright an upgrade. He's just one of the most mechanically outstanding players I've ever profiled. And yes, he's an idiot. I know behind the scenes he's been a problem for teams.
Yes, indeed.
He's been immature. But man, is he good at Counter-Strike. I can't deny that mechanically he's insane. And they've played one series with him already. Sure, they played the Strongles. It's not exactly much of a challenge. But he's already come in and just dumpstered a team. Like, what more do you want? Like, he's going to be one of their best players.
Yeah, because that's his job. He's supposed to be the guy who dumpsters.
He's going to dumpster
other teams.
And we've seen it in the past. He can even hang at the highest level mechanically. This is a great move. It's just, hopefully he's growing up a bit and shows that.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. 9Z have added Adam S, and this would be in place of DGT, who they cut last week.
Yeah, this one was random, wasn't it?
Super random.
Like we know they cut DGT and there was someone had to come in, and Adam S speaks Spanish, so I'm not like shocked in terms of all those things. I just don't think that much of Adam S. You know?
Yeah.
And 9Z going for him. Is he coming in to call or something? What is
no, Max was the caller. Max was the caller.
Yeah, and he's still, right? That's what I'm saying.
Should be.
Like, yeah, that hasn't changed. So potentially it is a question of bringing Adam S to be explicitly a role player, to try and change up the structure, because what they had been doing wasn't working, and they signed Lucan not too long ago, and that just seemed like a move in itself. Like maybe they are trying to enable the pieces they should be enabling by bringing in a player like Adam S, who has been more supportive in a lot of other rosters, played a role to a decent level. I just find it it's a bit random, just a bit random.
Yeah, like they cut Buddha, TGE, and DGT. Wow, and they added Lucan, Yell, and Adam S. It doesn't feel like an upgrade. It feels like 3 players who are decidedly recycled over 3 players who made top 4 at IEM Dallas and looked solid until they didn't. So it feels very strange to me.
I mean,
but
they,
at least
they did have the players and that coach for like 2 years. It's not like they didn't try. It's not like they didn't try those players. So clearly, they decided they need to go some other way.
It's just very weird to recycle these players. I don't think Adam S would have been around when Martinez played with Koi either.
He definitely played on Koi.
He did. Oh, they overlapped slightly. He actually overlapped for a couple of months. So maybe this is like there's a point to this maybe, where like Martinez was like, yeah,
random.
Maybe it's not completely arbitrary. Maybe there's actually a decision around this. Did you give it a grade?
No, not yet. I'm gonna give it a C. I kind of feel like I'm reviewing the entire roster again, but still, I just have to leave it a C.
Yeah. Yep. Linvision have added Call Me Sue, who I think is replacing. I can't remember
one of the
who they cut.
Very good.
I think he's replacing a Fufu who was there temporarily in the first place. So this is finalizing the roster.
I mean, if Fufu was just still standing in, because Fufu was cut at the end of December, right? Like.
Yeah, and he was just I can't remember what it was, but for one reason or another, he had to keep playing for a while. But now this is the finalized roster.
I don't know.
Call Me Sue, briefly second fiddle to Jeba on wildcard.
Yes, very briefly.
Yeah, until he got deported. He didn't have a visa. Sorry, that's why he left wildcard. He couldn't stay in America. Anyway, sorry. Big side note.
I don't know. He's not a bad player overall. Like just in terms of skill.
Yeah.
He's a pretty sharp guy. It's just I don't know. Like he dominated when he was on G3 against some weekend 8 competition. I don't have much to go off of on this move. Like it's a very not out of nowhere, but a very difficult move to judge because this player is very fresh. There's not much demo on them. There's not much. We've not seen like Call Me Sue at a big like RMR, or at least play well at an RMR. I don't know. I'm gonna go. I want this roster to work, and so seeing a player I'm not familiar with added again just irks me. We'll go C, maybe D actually. C minus. C minus till I'm like prove me wrong, Call Me Sue. Or as I used to say, call me sus, because no picture, Chinese player.
Can't
funny.
read. Okay.
Also can't read, but yeah. No, this is just I want to be wrong, but my instincts are telling me C minus. This roster needs maybe a change in IGL. I'll still get into that right now, but I just overall just don't really love this.
Yep, that's fair. Monty have added Lean. The Lean man, Lean. Impossible.
Not sure that's a reference to.
That's a reference to the the website where you can go and like hear internet radio from various parts of the world.
Oh yeah.
It's a video from where they go into a radio channel in Nigeria, I think. Maybe it's not even on the website. It might just be a recording, and it's like somebody calls in to like a Christian radio channel, and she goes like, "Hi, I have sorry, I'm gonna have to do the accent. It's part of the funny.
Do it.
I have confession. I'm Christian, but I'm gay," and they just go impossible, and there's like everybody just starts, and then he goes Darlene, Manleen, for some fucking reason. Yeah, I'm gonna have to send this to you. Anyway, yeah. Lean, the academy player.
Okay. Yeah, because he's a player we're familiar with if we've been watching Monty Gen.
Yeah.
And on Monty Gen, he was just like a guy, almost. Like a role player in that sense. Because the Ryu, it was the Ryu show. In terms of, he's the player set up to win the rounds overall. Gizmi was the IGL who took a lot of openings.
Mm-hmm.
So he was kind of setting himself up. And then Lean and FNL as the riflers were kind of left to fill some lurk spots, fill a lot of pack spots. He never particularly impressed me, Lean, overall. But considering my indifference towards Dika, you know, it could be worse. I don't think it's a big upgrade. It might be a lateral move. In terms of overall impact, I mean, 4 maps in, you've got a 0.5 rating, so maybe not. It's not really that big a shift in level of play, so I assume he'll get back to his regular numbers pretty soon. And yeah, I mean, even if it is just a lateral move, I'm just going to give it a B. Because Monty, for me, they have some really good pieces that I really want to see thrive in Demka, Ryu, Gizmi. Hell, I'm still a Hades fan. Like, much it's been a while since he's been at the top in terms of at least tier 1 play.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of his. So, look, I wish him the best, but I do think Lean is a bit of a lateral move, and we need to see more development out of the Ryu-Gizmi duo for this team to actually take that next step.
Yeah, I think they've done a decent job here because they've kind of done a MOUZ kind of vibe where they have an academy team performing really well, arguably performing like at a slightly lower tier of play. Monty Gen was performing better than the main Monty team. Like they were beating expectations and Monty was below expectations. So they've got Ryu and Gizmi and now Lean and also Ivan. So they have 4 academy pieces out of 6 for this main team, and they've kept their best 2 pieces, Demka and Hades. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to go for. They were like, we had this one functioning team and we had the second not so functioning team. Let's try to rebuild with, the players we have. I think that's what they're going for. So could be cool to see what happens.
Yeah.
Could also be dog shit. Like on paper for me, it's not really moving the needle. It's not like this is a massively more talented roster than the last one they had. It's just they're trying something different with players who are not as experienced, and some might say not as washed.
Yeah, you're gambling on their upside.
Yeah,
we've seen
exactly.
Duka play for 7 odd years. We know where roughly he can be, like at best.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's not that great.
B&E have added Peacemaker as a coach.
Man, Mr. Elevator Pitch back again.
Yep, this guy well known for making his way into pretty fucking random teams as a coach.
I mean, just looking at his career teams as a coach is hilarious. Like Games Academy, Tempo Storm, Liquid, NRG Misfits, Tyloo, Heroic, somehow Heroic again, Mad Lions, Imperial, Complexity, Last Dance, Imperial, Team 1, Bad News Eagles. Like, it's just a bit all over the shop.
Yeah, that weird Tyloo Heroic Mad Lion spell was very wild. But yeah.
I guess they needed a coach.
I mean, Devil Walk is around. You could have gone back to that. If you're running it back,
I guess. I don't know. I don't think... Look, Peacemaker often invites extreme opinion when it comes to how good people think he is. And I'm pretty neutral on it. And I think this is a team that could do with some influence from a coach, so by default, it kind of is a good idea to have one. does just kind of feel like, oh, we need a coach. Who's available? He's got a name. We'll take him.
Yeah.
So, no, in that sense, I kind of had to give it like a D. I'm just like, you need a coach, but you literally just took one. Just took one in this context. Like, that's how it feels. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
Novak formed with Adren as coach and Neelan as IGL and a bunch of other Kazakhstan players.
Yeah,
Some of which I vaguely know, but I don't know a lot about them.
Yeah, I saw this one happen, and I was like, oh yeah, these kids. So it's mostly the players who all played on the same team together. They played on tour together. That was it. That's the name. And there's some not terrible players here. Tasman, that's the one I recognize most as a rifler. Because I was going through basically the Kazakh players during a prospect demo, and I was like, who is a Kazakh rifler? If I'm trying to make a Kazakh team, like, who are the good ones? Who is impressed? And I was just like, oh, Tasman kept popping up. And 4Kids has the crazy numbers, but there's not much to go behind that. 4 maps in 3 months. But overall, you're just talking about like a gamble on some kids, develop the local scene. Neelan, whilst not an IGL, has particularly impressed me at any time. Is at least experienced relative to these players. He's had a longer career, especially tier 2 grinding. I mean, we all know him from like the Simon K23 era, which is essentially what this is going to replace, as they were the Kazakh team historically that Adren was associated with, and now he's just started his own team. So, yeah, I guess a nice idea, at least for Adren to be involved in this project, to be coaching, bringing up younger Kazakh players. Where it'll actually go, I don't know. They're currently Valve ranked 62, which is a surprise. I'll give them a B plus. A nice idea. We'll see where it leads. I mean, they lost in the Bucharest quali to the Art Frost Nafany team roller coaster. So, I mean, not the most damning loss. Maybe there's something here.
Yeah, as has just been pointed out in the chat, they're actually ranked on the Valve ranking, and I'm going to try to figure out why. It was because of Tor. Yeah, they've just...
No.
Or Lewandowski, as they might have been called.
What?
Various different names. Actually, very strange.
Lewandowski.
Actually, no. They're here because Neil and Defizer and Pumpkin played IESF, which was
okay.
Yeah, they played IESF and they finished top 8. So that's probably why they're ranked 62nd, and also some online shit. But yeah, cool. It's actually decent. They can get some invites from that. Let's see how well they hold up. Gun 5 have added Lackey, everybody's favorite player.
Yeah, in the place of, what was his name? Is it Easy? Yeah, it was Easy. Is this... Yeah, I don't know. They're a team who are now going to struggle just because they lost to Nier and he was their game plan. Like, Cielo was kind of like their aggressive player. Tanir's their lurker. There wasn't much else going on for the team.
Yeah.
And I don't see this as really much of an upgrade and not much of a play, like, in terms of moving upwards. I mean, Lucky's not a bad role player, it's just you're not missing a role player. You're missing a whole ass 1.3 rated rifler.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone else can do much about it. I mean, Feinstein is kind of supposed to replace him in terms of firepower. Like, they want him to step up a lot. They signed him off of Hotu. I don't see how he can. Just not the right... This just isn't the right move for me overall. This whole process of changes they've made. They're seriously weak. Oh, right, yes, okay. So these moves are connected. I was going to say, this doesn't feel like the right way around. Yes. They bench Easy. Technically, this is now Lackey replacing Tanir. That makes more sense.
All right.
Looking at the timeline of things. Yeah, it's not great. It's just not great. Grade, I guess I can't hate the fact that they've signed a player who makes Counter-Strike sense overall. He's not a terrible Counter-Strike player. So I'll give him a C. C. We're still missing a star rifler. Panera is going to be very hard to replace. He's been dicking people down with heroic. Qualified for, is it Dallas they qualified for?
They qualified for Dallas. They're going to be there.
They smashed Astralis in that game.
Had a great clutch. He did.
It's a clutch man. But all right, that's the eternal shuffle for this week.
Hell yeah.
Let's wrap up the show as we always do with prospects of the week. Yeah, let's do it. Lead us off. You've chosen a very weird pick in terms of. I mean, Malo 9 was there, but you didn't take Malo 9.
I took him like last week or the week before that or something. So I didn't want to. Yeah, I'm gonna pick Finn, an Indian player, because basically the big star for God's Reign. We've if the only Indian team you have ever heard of, you the viewers. Yeah, they won an event. They won the Dust to India 1xBet Masters 19. And they did it in quite convincing fashion. And Finn is the 21-year-old guy on the team who is doing most of the heavy lifting. And like this is a pick which I think is interesting because God's Reign are quite an interesting team. They are definitely the most successful team out of India right now. There's not too many to speak of in the first place, but they are definitely doing some of the most work. We're probably going to see them in contention for a major spot, whether that be in the major MRQ, the fucking qualifier, online qualifier, or if they somehow they're not going to make it into the whole major. But yeah, we're going to see them at least mentioned in that sort of bracket. And you know, Finn is sort of an interesting guy to look at there because Indian CS has had a lot of investment. Just to India obviously exists since maybe a year and a half now. They're running events. They're running regular cups, like online cups, which is good. With HLTV coverage, even better, because that's also a big driving factor in developing a region such as this. And there's also Sky Esports, the tournament organizer. I wouldn't say they're doing too much of a positive impact at the moment, but at least they're bringing event to India at various points. And if this development continues, if things continue to look sort of positive for Indian CS, Finn is going to be one of the guys you really look towards as one of the more heavy hitters, one of the prospects for the future, and that's cool. And he's consistently putting up good numbers. They're really struggling in a lot of the events they play. Like they're really struggling against decent opposition in, for example, Challenger League. They're having a rough go of it there. But you know, it's baby steps, and let's see how things work out in the future. So eyes on Finn if you're looking towards the Indian region.
Yeah, young guy. Puts up good numbers. Basically, the carry for God's Reign. Yeah, it's still a developing, very early on in the development kind of scene.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I'm looking forward to it. We do have them playing in Challenger League Asia Pacific, struggling, getting their ass kicked by a lot of East Asian teams. Probably some fucking ping problems to factor in there, to be honest. But, yeah, I remember hearing some plates from a guy. I think it was T-Time was telling me he's Pakistani teams, South Asian teams, talking about how they can only really play on servers if they're in very specific parts of Asia. There aren't like Delhi servers, and if there were, Mongolian teams don't want to play there. So yeah, there's a lot of issues for that scene to get over or get through rather.
Yeah,
and that's going to be interesting to watch, interesting to track. He's certainly a talented player, though. I've watched a demo or two. He's pretty good. I'm not sure if he's like European tier 2 caliber good, but relative to their scene, he's pretty strong. Yeah,
we'll see when they get there. I mean, if they carry on, there's probably a time when we see them play, you know, maybe a boot camp in Europe or something like that, and that's when we get to see them in those kind of events. And let's see how he holds up then.
Yeah, be curious to find out.
Yeah, could he be the next Hunter? With a deep cut to the. I love mentioning this guy. Sorry, can I go on a tangent? There is a 28-year-old Counter-Strike player called Hunter from India without the E. And the funniest thing about him is that he is not as a sportsman, he is not Counter-Strike first. He is snooker first. He is a very good snooker player. He's like a medalist in some snooker world championship. And then he played some CS on the side, and he was destroying everybody else. In like his career average is 130, 2.0 rating. And like he was just destroying every team in India. in while being a snooker pro first and Counter-Strike professional Counter-Strike player second, which is just an interesting bit of HLTV trivia, which lives rent-free in my head.
Great. Okay. Just a side tangent on snooker. Right. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. My prospect of the week. Is a player you should all be very familiar with. It's Nota. Harry Vision have rescued my boy from the doldrums of Amcal. Because, oh, Lord. Well, Amcal shit. We all know it. Like, oh, they played the worst game of Counter-Strike. Like, yeah, that roster was awful to watch. I had no idea what they were doing with such a talented piece. Here he is on a team that actually understands how to play CS. And sure, on T-side, he's still entrying. You know, he's still taking those kind of difficult fights, and he's not getting the same priority when it comes to opening fights. You know, the difference is noticeable. But at least on this team, they have a properly set game plan. He still gets the chance to display his skill, to actually be impactful on the round. And yeah, he's had a great week. 1.3 rating, 0.81 KPR, the kind of stuff I want to see. They beat Rhino, Monty, and NIP. 3 legit wins. I mean, Rhino probably a bit weaker, but they are at least a consistent fixture in Tier 2. Beating NIP, no mean feat. Despite the fact that, ESC just did it. Still takes some doing. And I have to give credit to Jamin Kickert, around whom the strategies have been built, I assume, in terms of the IGL duo. As far as I give a shit, I don't care if it's officially Kickert. They are the leadership of this team under Dastan. And Nota's thriving, like, doing absolutely outstanding work alongside the rest of the team. Everyone's having a good time on that roster. And I'm glad to see Nota, still 17, very young. His twin brother also had a good week, Texi on Rush B. But yeah, Nota, more noticeably, with Parry Vision. Absolutely fragging. Love to see it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, look, how many times have we mentioned Nota as a prospect?
Not enough.
Quite a few. I think he would have been a credible pick for prospect of the year last year. Let's see what he manages to do.
Yeah, well, Paravision, I think, are going to be one of those teams that grinds their way out of Tier 2. Just the way they've been playing. It's like their style just kind of works down here. Because Valve have them at 83. They haven't been able to, because they didn't play, all their events haven't been ranked, so they haven't really gotten the full credit yet. But they are 29th in the HLTV ranking. That tells you a lot in terms of how they've been playing, how successful they've been. They have got already some pretty big scouts. You know, they've beaten Bait, Gamer Legion, Heroic, Namiga. We just mentioned some teams, but they also, when they won Europe Series 16 for CCT, they did beat Spirit Academy and Monty again. Sinners, team some people consider dangerous. They've also been on an incredible win streak. Like an incredible win rate. They've lost to Astralis. Other than that, lost to Bait around the same time. A 2-1 loss. Just winning otherwise. 75% win rate the last 3 months. This team's on the rise, and Nota's a noticeable part of
it. Yeah. Hell yeah. One hell of a player.
Yeah, but right, that's it for the show. Thank you everyone who tuned in live. I know we hit the... we had, I think, 40 concurrent viewers for the first time ever doing this live.
Not too bad.
Can't complain. Yeah, if you're watching
that's not why we're doing it. that's not really why we're doing it. We're not trying to be like a big streamer kind of thing. We're just doing it's mostly for production
It's the same
efficiency.
time.
Yeah, it is mostly therefore. But thank you for everybody who tuned in. There were some people in the chat, and I'm sorry I didn't read it more. But yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah. If you're watching on VOD, leave a like. If you enjoyed, leave a sub if you want to see more. Remember that members get access to a bunch of extra content, including the live BTS segments, which we'll be doing live, as well as uploading as VODs. Access to prospect demos twice a week. Core contributor tier will get access to the contributor discussions, which means basically a podcast led by yourselves. And yeah, we'll see you next week.